Today we're back looking at more true crime cases.
She went to meet a friend and never returned home. 25 years later, her case still remains unsolved.
Isn't it crazy to think someone can literally disappear for 25 years and we still don't know what happened to them? I'm only 22, so I've been missing longer than I've been alive.
This is the unsolved disappearance and murder of Hannah de Turville. 15-year-old Hannah de Turville was known as a outgoing, well-known, well-loved fixture in the London neighbourhood where she lived on Harrow Road in Queen's Park, North London. Hannah's mother even said that people in the local shops knew who she was because she was just such a friendly, outgoing, nice person. Hannah's mother, Jean, said that she was proud to be Hannah's mother. On the early afternoon of the 2nd of January 1998, Hannah went to the shop for her mother, Jean, to go and buy some gold thread. The shopkeeper heard Hannah having an argument with somebody outside. When the shopkeeper asked Hannah if she was okay and who the argument was with, Hannah replied it was just some crazy person. At around 7 p.m. that night, Hannah, dressed in a grey bomber jacket, orange jeans and red Reeboks, asked her mother if she could go and meet a friend. Jean agreed but told her not to be back late. Sadly, Hannah would never make it home. Her mother, Jean, alerted police straight away when she didn't turn up home that evening, and frustratingly, the police did not proactively look for Hannah.
No surprise.
2 weeks after
2
she was
weeks.
missing. This left Hannah's family and friends handing out flyers trying to find Hannah themselves.
I mean, come on, that's completely and utterly shocking. You're telling me she's literally 15 years old, didn't come home after going to meet her friend, and the police didn't look for her for at least 2 weeks. What's going on with the police forces? Like, this is so common in these cases. A literal child would go missing and the police would say, oh, we don't really care, we'll not look for them until a month later.
They knew that it was completely out of character for Hannah just to disappear. On the 24th of January 1998, 3 weeks after Hannah had disappeared, an anonymous call came into the gay and lesbian switchboard. The caller remained anonymous and told the operator that her body had been found near a golf course in Horston Hill. This area was actually known to dog walkers and also for gay people to meet up. The caller has never come forward to this day. Police said that the caller of this phone call may not have come forward because he was scared to come out about his sexuality rather than having anything to do with Hannah's killing. Hannah was found with over 20 stab wounds to her neck and her face. She had not been SA'd nor had she been robbed. It was thought that she was killed 12 hours from the time of her disappearance and had been kept somewhere else for several days before being dumped in this wooded area where she was discovered. The police said it would have taken at least 2 people to carry her body to where she was found. Hannah's friends were obviously questioned because remember she was meant to be meeting a friend that night, but most of her friends came forward and said no, it wasn't me she was meeting with, or nor did I see Hannah. Police believe that Hannah's killer were familiar with Hannah and the area and most likely had access to a car to maneuver Hannah's body. The police are pretty sure that someone knows something about Hannah's abduction and murder. Even after 25 years, there has been little to no information about what happened to Hannah that night or even who she met up with. It has been speculated that some people have talked about Hannah's case in the local area but are too afraid to go to police. It's almost like there's a wall of silence around Hannah's killing.
Whenever it comes to cases like that, there probably is quite a few people who know what actually happened but they're too scared to come forward. Why are they scared? Who are they scared of? People know what happened to her. You know, somebody killed her, somebody dumped the body, so people out there obviously know what happened. It's just eerie to think that someone done that and they still haven't been caught. Reopen this case, who was she arguing with outside the shop? That's what I'm thinking. Like, she said it was some crazy person. Who is this crazy person? You know, is that the crazy person she was meeting up with? I just think it's really weird how she apparently was also meeting up with a friend, but they're not able to find out who that friend was. Did she not give her mum a name? It's just weird, isn't it? You know, it's the fact she's only 15, went to meet a friend, and then she was literally found dead. Why didn't the shopkeeper get CCTV footage to see who she was talking to? It was back in 1998, so maybe they didn't have CCTV outside. However, I believe they might have. But I also just want to know why the police didn't look for her until after like 3 weeks. What 15-year-old disappears for 2 weeks? I know some children are trouble. However, still, you know, if a child is missing for like a week, you should definitely be looking for them. And as per usual with all of these cases, someone has done the crime but they've not got charged. Right now they're out there and there's still a possibility they could do it again.
How can someone go missing and then be found weeks later in the exact place that everyone was looking for them? I'm True Crime Caitlin and this is the disappearance of Nicola Bulley. 45-year-old devoted mother and loving wife Nicola Bulley dropped off their daughters at their school in St Michael's on Wyre in Lancashire on the 27th of January 2023.
I remember whenever this originally happened because I'm from the UK, and I kid you not, it was probably the most talked about case of the year. And the thing is, we still don't really know what happened.
As she did most mornings after the school run, Nicola would leave her car parked at the school and take the family dog Willow out for a walk along the river. Because Nicola and Willow did this walk so often, she sort of became a staple, and so people would recognise her and they would stop and they would talk to her and they would see her every day. At 9:01, Nicola, who worked as a mortgage advisor, logged onto an online Teams call. However, she kept both her camera and her microphone switched off.
Weird, isn't it?
She was just listening into the meeting. 9 minutes later, she would be spotted by another passerby, and it is this person who is believed to be the last person who saw Nicola alive. The meeting on Teams ended at 9:30, however Nicola stayed logged on after the meeting had ended. Just a couple of minutes later, another dog walker would come across Willow and Nicola's phone, which appeared like it had just been placed down on a bench.
See, this is the weird thing, because this is the bit that doesn't make sense, and you'll find out why.
But there was no sign of Nicola anywhere. Within hours, the mother of two would be reported missing to the police, which set off a huge investigation which made national news. Alongside the police, fire and rescue, mountain rescue, an underwater search team, and even a specialist team who brought in specialist sonar equipment, all worked together trying to search the land, trying to search the river, holding their breath, hoping that they would find Nicola alive, but sadly, they were unsuccessful. The public were so invested in Nicola's case that it was all that anyone was talking about. Everyone was waiting anxiously for updates. Everyone wanted to know what was happening minute by minute, hour by hour, hoping for the best case scenario. But as time was ticking on, the public began to come up with their own theories and conspiracies to what may have happened to Nicola.
And quite frankly, that is one of the worst things that can happen to a case. Whenever somebody disappears, people are obviously going to speculate as to what happened. However, the amount of fake theories that came out of that case is insane. It's the same with the Jay Slater case. He was basically a kid who went missing abroad. You know, so many people made up so many fake stories and theories about him.
People even started interfering with the investigation by trying to do their own
I know,
investigation.
why would you do that?
I believe that some people even got arrested for their interference. Nicola's family were even forced to come out to beg the public to stop with the conspiracy theories and keep their focus on finding Nicola. Just over 4 weeks later, on the 19th of February, a couple who was out walking their dog along the River Wyre would discover a body in the river. The body was recovered and identified using dental records, and everyone's worst nightmare came true. The body was that of Nicola Bulley. Nicola's post-mortem would show that she had received no injuries that would be consistent with anything to do with foul play. She had bruises on her arms and on her legs, which matched up with an accidental fall into the river. Her cause of death was confirmed to have been from cold water shock and drowning.
And that is what is so weird about this case, because the way it was made out is that she basically went to the water bank and fell in and then died due to the shock and drowning. However, a lot of people didn't believe that. You know, it doesn't make sense. With the whole case, there's so many inconsistencies and weird things that went on that no one really knows what actually happened. Something's very weird of this. The husband and friend are behind it all, I think. I mean, look, I don't believe that, but I do believe it is really, really weird. It is fishy. I remember they brought in a specialist team, which was basically searching the river. They had all the best equipment you could get, and they said, quote unquote, if she's in that river, we will find her. They didn't find her, and then a few weeks later she was literally found in the exact same spot. It's weird, isn't it? How were they not able to pick her up? You know, a lot of people think that she was placed back into the river. I've seen in other cases that if someone dies from drowning, then depending on their weight, etc., anything up to 3 days after, sometimes the gases from being deceased can cause them to float. I don't trust the British dive teams. I know of local incidents where the dive teams have failed to locate things only for locals to find things. Many families opt for private teams due to this issue. It just is weird, isn't it? You know, it's the fact that they basically scanned the whole of the river, you know, looked for her, couldn't find her, and then not too long afterwards she was found. And that's why a lot of people seem to think, you know, she was murdered somebody else and just placed into the river, and there's a whole cover up. On the CCTV of her, it looks like her best friend. And then a year after the case was closed, one of the investigators took their life. The whole thing just screams fishy. Do I believe it was an accidental death? Yeah, however, it just is a weird case. I'm 100% convinced she was killed somewhere else and dumped there after the searches. That's what a lot of people think, but then yet again, you know, we're not the investigators, we don't know everything. But I could see why people think that. It's just one of them cases where it's weird, you know, nothing really adds up.
This couple's life was turned upside upside down by chilling online threats that spiraled out of control. But the true identity of the person responsible will absolutely stun you. It was January 2023 when life began to get really scary for a few people in Peterborough. Megan Brailsford was a devoted mother. She was an animal lover and actually loved them so much that she trained to become a vet. She was really hardworking and loved her job. She met Daniel Dugdale in the local area while she was out and about one day. She was really drawn to how friendly and chatty he was. They were both single, he asked her out, and the rest was kind of history. After 6 or 7 months, the pair moved in together and became a little family unit. Sadly though, around Christmas, the pair broke up. It was a couple of weeks later that the pair became a target of horrific harassment online. It was January 2023 that an account called Authentic Dan reached out to a random person online to say, "I've killed my partner, can you call police for me as I can't bring myself to do it?" Now, although the anonymous account didn't give a name, the address was given as Dan's address. Officers obviously showed up expecting to find a murder scene. They had tasers, but as they knocked on the door and Dan answered, he just seemed completely stunned. On police body cam footage, he was completely shaken, and he even called Megan at work to prove to the officers that he hadn't killed her, she was alive. But this was unfortunately far from an isolated incident. Just weeks after, another online user got another disturbing message from a user called Megan. This time it said that she had killed her ex-partner, and the message was accompanied by a very graphic picture showing blood all over the floor.
Okay, so apparently somebody is harassing this couple that broke up. It's terrifying for something like that to happen to you, but could you imagine the person who's receiving them messages? Imagine you receive a random message from a fake account basically saying, "Yeah, I murdered my partner, here's a picture of the crime scene, call the police." That would keep you up for days.
The recipient of this horrific message did call police and reported it. This time, an armed unit was sent to Megan's address. Officers searched the property and Megan explained what had happened weeks before to Dan. They then obviously did a welfare check on Dan just to make sure that he wasn't dead, which he wasn't, and they kind of apologised and said that they would look into this. Now, Dan actually told them at the time that an anonymous account had been posting malicious messages about him, saying that he'd unalived himself and had also been sending explicit images to him. Dan explained that he'd been experiencing anxiety and was unable to sleep due to what had been going on.
Of course.
Again, things continued to escalate. Megan started receiving Facebook messages stating that the individual behind the accounts was going to kill both her and Dan. The messages then took a new disturbing turn. This time, the accounts were claiming that Megan had killed her children. It got to the point where police were being called almost daily to Megan and Dan's addresses.
Who is behind this account? That is so weird and creepy. Somebody is making an account sending these messages. However, I'm now starting to think, it could be one of them. Is that going to be the plot twist?
The NSPCC were even informed that Megan may be abusing her children. Police now deem this to be a stalking case. Yet again, the anonymous accounts persisted and Megan started getting some really creepy audio messages. Clearly a voice-changing app had been used and the creepy, distorted voice told Megan that they were coming to get her. She received threats of threats to run her off the road, and messages threatening her dog's safety. Clearly, the stalker or stalkers knew a lot about the pair of both of them, including their addresses.
Which makes me think it could be a family member or one of them. I've heard a lot of cases online where, someone claims that they're getting abused or, harassed online. It's actually them behind the account or one of their friends.
They even sent horrific details like, quote, "The bedrooms at the front of the house are your kids, right?" Investigators knew whoever was behind these messages was obviously very dangerous. They invited Megan in to have her phone downloaded and asked Dan as well. Strangely though, Dan kept making excuses as to why he couldn't bring the phone in, whereas Megan did this straight away. Interestingly, one recipient of an anonymous message online about Megan received a message on Facebook off Dan, and off the actual Dan this time, not just somebody pretending to be Dan. Very tellingly, Dan messaged this woman saying, "I think you've been getting the same messages as me." But the woman found this very odd because she never told Dan that she was receiving these messages, so how would he know? Police were obviously now very suspicious of Dan. Had he set the whole thing up and harassed himself to make it look like he was a victim? He was arrested and his phone was seized. On his phone there was damning evidence, including drafts of messages saved in his notes app that were exactly the same as messages that Megan had received. Megan also revealed to police throughout the investigation that Dan had been verbally and physically abusive in their relationship. In the end, Dan admitted, "I was trying to hurt her so she would need me." He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of stalking and perverting the course of justice. He was given 3 years and 9 months in prison.
3 years and 9 months in prison for literally making your girlfriend too scared to leave her house. I had a feeling if that was going to happen, I had a feeling one of them was involved, or a family member or a friend. I remember seeing a case online where a mother was cyberbullying her daughter. Obviously her daughter reported it, so police got an investigation going on, and then they found out it was the mum. Like, imagine being a mother and bullying your daughter. She was calling her all types of names, and I feel like that is quite similar. That just is terrifying, the fact like you're in love with somebody, broke up with them, and then they're sending you anonymous messages saying they're going to come and take your life. Some people out there are eerie. This is actually scary AF. Not knowing you're literally with someone who wants you to be sad, scared and hurt. Dude's literally a psychopath. Whenever she started receiving messages of the layout of her house, that should have been a big red flag, as that it is somebody who she knows. Who else would know the layout of your house? Who would know lots of details about you? Obviously somebody who's been in your life. And then it's the fact he only got like 4 years in jail. What's he gonna do when he gets out?
Shafilea Ahmed was a 17-year-old British Pakistani girl who was murdered by her parents for supposedly refusing an arranged marriage.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the video there because it's not an arranged marriage, it's a forced marriage. It's not arranged, the girl has no arrangement in it. She's basically forced to marry a man that her parents want her to marry.
On the 11th of September 2003, Shafilea would disappear. She had been missing for a whole week before her teachers decided to report her missing. When police began their investigation, they began to find out a little bit more about Shafilea and her family life. It was reported that in 2003, during a family trip to Pakistan, she tried to take her own life by swallowing bleach. But Shafelea's parents had claimed that she hadn't tried to take her own life, and this was an accident. As when they were in Pakistan, the lights went out and Shafilea drank bleach thinking it was orange juice. Poor Shafilea had suffered horrendous damage to her mouth and throat and was probably in an immense amount of pain. But the reason she did this, reports claim that she'd turned down an arranged marriage set up by her parents, which is supposedly the reason she was in Pakistan in the first place. A huge hunt for Shafilea was launched, however police were already convinced that her life had been taken in an honour killing, and the honour killing would have been because Shafilea declined the arranged marriage. But in February of 2004, Shafelea's dismembered remains would be found in the River Kent. Police said the corpse was deliberately hidden, however they were able to identify it as Shafilea due to the jewellery that she had. Her body was actually identified by her parents, who claimed they recognised the ring and the bracelet that she was wearing. Due to the state of decomposition of the remains, a cause of death for Shafilea could not be determined. Now, Shafelea's parents, Fazana and Iftikhar Ahmed, were arrested along with 5 other people when this body was found. However, they would soon be released without charge. But as police began to look more into this investigation, some of Shafelea's friends came forward and claimed that Shafelea's parents were not happy with her being westernised by the modern culture in England.
Well then why raise her in a Western country? That doesn't make any sense. If you don't want her to be westernised, don't raise her in a Western country.
With her mum calling her names such as SLUT. Shafilea had actually run away twice before her body was found because of her parents. But for years, up until 2010, the case went cold. Alicia Ahmed, Amelia's sister, arranged a robbery of her own house in August 2010. Why she did this? I'm guessing it was something to do with money. Her parents and her other siblings were in the house, and as you can imagine, she was arrested for this. And it was when she was arrested and questioned that she confessed something harrowing to police. She said that her parents had killed Shafilea. She also said that the reason they had killed Shafilea was because she turned down an arranged marriage. And her parents were afraid that she would bring shame on their family, so because of this, they stuffed a plastic bag in her mouth and suffocated her. On the 7th of September 2011, the parents were finally arrested for Shafelea's murder. The trial began in May 2012 and both were found guilty of Shafelea's murder. They were sentenced to a minimum of 25 years behind bars.
So before they were arrested, they basically had a good 10 years where they were able to live their life while their daughter was dead the whole time. This was forced marriage, not arranged. That's why I'm saying, don't label it as if it's an arranged marriage. It's a forced marriage. Hence why she tried to run away. It also wouldn't surprise me if they forced her to drink the bleach. They just seem like such a horrible family, murdering their daughter, forcing her into marriages. Apparently another daughter set her house to get robbed. What's going on with some of these families? The parents look innocent though. Does that mean that they're innocent? Just because they look innocent doesn't mean that they're innocent. Maybe they look innocent to me. They look very guilty to me, and it turned out I was correct because they're monsters. A week, I accidentally overslept one day and my school fully called my mum and almost the police. That's what you realise with a lot of these stories. It's so bizarre how like someone can literally disappear for a week and no one notices. It makes me think, you know, if I disappeared for a week would nobody check up on me? I can't remember the exact age of the girl. I do know that she was quite young. Why can she not be seen for a week, not go to school for a week, not be seen by her friends for a week, and no one raises an eyebrow? Well, anyways guys, this really fun video there. That's some true crime cases. If you will see me looking more true crime cases, let me definitely will. Press the big red subscribe button, see you all tomorrow for another video.